I don't care if I take from you. I don't care if I steal your TV. I don't care what I do to you. I just want my drugs.
Every morning I would be like, all right, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. But then by noon, you know, that voice in the back of the head would start creeping up and I couldn't stop myself from doing it.
Welcome back to our State of Addiction special, what every family needs to know. The road to recovery is rarely straight or smooth, and that road may never end, Derek.
Ashley Nowakowski's family is traveling that path. She is the executive director of Your Choice to Live Incorporated. Ashley, thank you for spending some time with us this afternoon. First off, can you give us an idea of what Your Choice to Live, your nonprofit, does here in the community?
Sure. We provide prevention education. So when we were living through it as a family, we didn't have a lot of education. We didn't know where to go. And so when my brother got sober, we decided that we wanted to go out there and share our story. We wanted to provide education so that other families didn't go through what we did.
And you mentioned your brother. This particular topic is very personal to you. Can you walk us through his journey and his path to substance misuse?
Sure. So he started using substances in 6th grade, alcohol, cigarettes, progressed to marijuana use, then prescription pills. And by 17 years old, he was using heroin. And obviously it wasn't on our radar. And being a sibling, I didn't really know what was going on. His personality changed. My parents saw the changes, but his use just progressed to the point where our home was always chaotic. We were always walking on eggshells. Nobody wanted to be around each other. And, you know, I began to hate him because my parents were fighting all the time. And we just never knew when we were going to get that call that he wasn't going to, you know, be with us anymore.
And you mentioned this was during the teenage years, and you said 6th grade. That's what, about 12, 13, 14 years old. How did that happen? How did he get introduced to that path?
So he was in football and he would go over to a friend's house after practice, and he started drinking with their older siblings before football practice. And so he liked that feeling. And then anytime somebody else offered him something, he would just jump at that chance.
And how did your brother eventually find sobriety?
So my parents eventually had enough. And after 10 years of going through this, they kicked him out. He went and lived in a drug house. And about 2 weeks later, my parents said, you know what? You can get help and we'll support you, or you can keep doing what you're doing. So he did decide to go through treatment. He did really well. He was sober for 10 years. And about 2 years ago, he relapsed. So now we're back to where we were 20 years ago, except now he's just older. And so it's been a long journey.
And during that first time when your parents kicked him out of the house and he wasn't there, how hard was that for you, not knowing where your brother was? And did you ever think he was coming back home?
At that point, I was relieved that he wasn't in our house, you know, because I can't explain how awful it was. But, you know, you always in the back of your mind, you always worry about, you know, is this something going to happen? And then when he did decide to get treatment, it did take a little bit to, you know, want to be around him and trust him. And we were able to build a really great friendship. For the past, I would say 8 years, we were so close. And then when he relapsed, it was almost harder the second time than it was the first time, just because we had a really strong bond.
And how have things changed since his relapse?
I've had to do a lot of growth myself, and I've had to do a lot of self-reflection and learn to love him from a distance. He's old enough to make his own choices, and I just can't be a part of that right now. And then it goes back to where we were as a teenager. Now my parents are struggling again, you know, because they don't have a relationship with their son. So my hope is that, you know, one day we can reconcile and have an open conversation about the things that have transpired since the relapse.
And For folks who are watching this, what do you want them to take away from hearing your story and your brother's story and the overall impact of your family's story, really?
The things I want people to take away is that siblings are affected just as much. And so when you have somebody in your family that's struggling, we have to make a little bit of effort to make sure that the siblings are okay. I also want people to know that there is hope. And even though that's not my story right now, people can achieve sobriety. And hopefully one day I have that with my brother. But I also want people to know that when you do go down this path, there's no guarantee that you will live a sober life. So it is a risk when you start experimenting with substances.
By the chance your brother sees this broadcast and sees you, what do you want him to know?
I want him to know that I love him more than anything. And I hope one day we can get back to where we were a few years ago.
From her powerful story to how to have that tough conversation, when and how does anyone really begin? Dr. Cindy Graham is a licensed psychologist. She's also the owner and founder of the Brighter Hope Wellness Center in Maryland. Dr. Graham, thank you so much for joining us, and we're going to dive into the conversation. You've had over 20 years of experience, so how should a parent respond if asked if they used drugs when they were a kid?
Right, so that can be a very tough question for parents to ask. There might be some embarrassment or feelings of regret, or maybe even that urge to hide and not really tell the truth. And that's really not what you want to do. You want to create an environment of openness, honesty, and trust with your child, especially your teens. And so letting them know that, yeah, you did have a history of using drugs. Maybe it was experimenting. Maybe it was a full-on, disorder that you struggled with. And this is really helpful for kids to understand that it's not just them. There can be a family pattern, a genetic history that's playing a role there. And so lots of times kids feel, they feel ashamed, they feel embarrassed that they're struggling with this. So your openness and honesty can help them to understand that this is something that people often struggle with, including their own parents.
And so a difference that I think is important to point out here, the difference between addiction and experimenting, what does that look like?
Sure, they're very different. So experimenting can be really quite common, where a kid or a teen might be at a party and they try a drug once or twice. It's something that you'll tend to see socially, or perhaps they acquire it from a friend and try it on their own. But when we're talking about a substance use disorder, we're talking about something that's persistent, something that is difficult to get rid of. So oftentimes the person wants to stop, but they're not able to, where they try to stop many times. They spend a lot of time in pursuit of getting their drug of choice. It can impact relationships with others significantly. And experimentation really doesn't have that component. Experimentation is usually here and there. It doesn't affect overall functioning. It doesn't affect your relationships. You're not really craving it or seeking it out. So it really is quite different.
How can parents, keep their children able to have a social life but not go down the path of drugs?
Right. Yeah, it's really, really tough. Again, that openness is important, creating an environment where if the child were to experiment and try a type of drug, that the parent is not coming down on the child harshly, that they're understanding that they're working through the problems. Get to know your child's friends so that you know who they're socializing with and who they're hanging out with. Give them options. Especially if your child tends to be more socially anxious, do some role plays, run through some situations that they would encounter when they're at a party, and give them the tools that's necessary so that they can feel more confident in saying no. And then lastly, I would say always have an out for them. Let them know that they can call you no matter what time, even if they lied to them about the party. Create that air of openness so that your child can say, look, I'm in a situation I don't like and I don't know how to handle. Can you come get me? Because that's what's really important as well, that they feel supported in being able to say no to what's going on around them.
I would look in the mirror and I could see that death was near.
From the NBA to unemployment and back again, Milwaukee Bucks assistant coach Vin Baker's road to recovery and redemption.
The stress and shutdowns of the pandemic have touched nearly everyone. The impact it's had on the opioid crisis. You're watching What Every Family Needs to Know.